Today we're going to dive into Adshares, do a little bit of a project analysis, and take a look at what could be the Google Ads killer. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into TechPath. Diving into the metaverse and also into projects that are really kind of reassigning how things are done in the blockchain world. One of the key aspects that we often will look to, and I think a lot of people look to, is the ad tech space. Now, ad tech, of course, has been around for over 2 decades. We've seen companies come and go. I'll show you just a line list of companies that are out there in the space right now, just to show you how big this market can be. The one leader that is in the space when it comes to blockchain and what that might look like in terms of both blockchain and metaverse utility cases are a company and a project called Adshares. I want to jump to their website. Just the future of ad tech is here. They go into quite a bit around how advertising is essentially going to be utilized in the metaverse, and also I think within these virtual worlds, because there will be many different kind of opportunities here, I think, for Adshares to go into game operations, productivity tools that we'll probably see come out within kind of a one-to-one. We could see this really kind of go head-to-head with what is happening over at Meta, meaning Facebook, because I think as you look at advertising, the opportunity for all of this is going to be unique because of the fact that it starts to represent something that people have never really seen before, and that is the use case of advertising in a place where right now all sorts of gold rushes are happening. And I want to dive into a little bit about what they're talking about. We'll get into some of the key elements here, but of course they've had a couple of things here. One, I wanted to kind of talk through their 22 roadmap. Let me zoom in on that for you guys a little bit. The 2021, and this was kind of impressive to me. I watched their video and we had a chance to see a little bit of everything that was on there. But the point being is that in 2022, the roadmap is still very aggressive, even over the 2021 roadmap. What you'll notice here is new ad formats in video and 3D. That, of course, is going to be one of the key things. They're doing new ad integrations on Decentraland Builder, a one-click ad server. New ad tech and media partnerships. We'll talk about that. I'll show you a video here in a second that really kind of showcases that. New website design, I think that's more for their ambassador program. That is one of the weaknesses that they talked about, as that they weren't really able to create kind of that continuity within their community. And I think this is one of those things that as we see creators get involved, ad tech companies get involved, and then also just the partnerships within the blockchain space, you need that kind of community and vibrant community at that to really kind of help spread the word, let people know what's really going on. I think that's where some of these projects kind of fall down in this area. Secret Summer milestone they're doing on Adshares Academy. They also have the major CEX, Central Exchange listing. They have an SDK coming out, and that'll be interesting because I think that will be one of the key things. Watch this section right here for SDKs, because this will become the one key thing that a lot of different ad tech companies that could be going into this. And when you look at the global ad tech space, this is a report from Mobility Foresights. It's a pretty expensive report. I won't go into the details of it, but I want to show you the company profiles that are some of the major competitors defined in the markets. And of course, none other than Amazon.com. Still, one of their biggest business units is advertising. Ironically, AOL still in the game, Axiom, Alibaba. Then you've got Yahoo, Baidu, obviously with Chinese DoubleClick, Facebook, Google, Eniro, Verizon. There's a bunch of these who really kind of control. And when you think ad tech, even Tencent, when you think ad tech and where the growth of this particular market is going, those are the kind of companies that essentially right now control the space. With Adshares, what they're essentially trying to do is replace what could be, or I should say, lay down the road work for what could be the next evolution in ad technology. That's why the API aspect in their roadmap for 2022 is so critical for them to achieve. Another thing that they kind of talk about right here, blockchain advertising is back in the video age. Their protocol is of course now going to be offering the video ads protocol. This is the one thing that they kind of focus on. And one thing that they talk about, same goes for advertising formats. We got used to rich media in portals. Here comes Web3, and we're back to GIF and JPEG. That's kind of the joke on what they're playing. So really being able to get into a video format, I think, is the bare minimum that they need to get in place. And I think once they hit this, it's going to be a rocket ship to the moon. So I think we're going to continue to see a lot of growth with Adshares continue as we see their token continue to perform overall. I want to jump over here to their medium. Adshares also introducing their 3D ads in the metaverse. I think this is really where the future will lie, is in the 3D adaptation. There's a lot happening there within that component because there is a lot that they talk about in how 3D advertising could be utilized. One example that they give is the essence of a car ad. And if you think about it, in a 3D environment, you could literally go in, whether it's AR, VR, go in, set in the car, take a look, feel that spatial connection to a new vehicle. And of course, the big advantage is that they're talking about is that you could take this even further. So let me kind of jump to their piece right here. Now imagine if car ads in the form of interactive 3D models where a user can open the door, talking to the onboard AI, and in the future, they want to go further and allow the drive, the ad itself. So I think that is, and think about that with clothing, all sorts of apparel, and especially in luxury goods. I'm thinking watches, purses, all those kind of things that the luxury market will start to flow into, and there's a lot happening within that space around some key markets out there. But as we see all of these potentials for what advertising will look like in the metaverse, Adshares could be the Rails component. And I talk about this a lot. It's kind of like the gold rush. The picks and shovels guys were the ones who really made out. It wasn't necessarily the miners. It was the picks and shovels, people who provided the rails, and I think that's what we'll continue to see in this space. And I talk about it a lot because this is going to happen in a lot of different industries, whether you see it in mobility, whether you see it in entertainment, with what we're seeing with things like Gallic Music or things like Audius, or what we'll see in the gaming frontier. There's just so many opportunities here, but the key is watch the companies and the projects that have very good connectivity to the potential of developing either SDKs or APIs into what they're trying to do. And I know some of this may be new for you guys. If you're new to our channel, best thing to do right now is just subscribe, make sure and jump into the channel because we do a lot on not only the tech that drives blockchain, but we get into a lot of detail and also provide you guys with a lot of really kind of a breakdown within these projects to help you understand whether or not you should do something with them. Again, not investment advice, but it hopefully gets you in the right direction around research and going forward. I want to jump to this video right here. And he makes a very interesting statement that I think you need to pay attention to with where Adshares is going. Let's cut to this video.
Talking about integration, we are in talks with 2 major metaverses and plan to integrate later this year. But there is one thing that we have come to realize, and now we're committed to changing it. It's you. It's the community. We're a bunch of extreme introverts. I know I talk too much, but believe me, we are all extreme introverts. And we must admit that we were not very good in building our community. But this is about to change. We are expanding our community communication to Discord, where we are looking forward to hearing from our fans and observers.
All right, so what you hear there is 2 things. One, of course, is very good clarity in the sense that we're in talks, keywords, we're in talks with 2 major metaverses. Now, in many cases, when I look at Adshares and I look at this team is a very serious team. They understand the advertising and the ad tech market itself, very deep in understanding the science behind it. So I believe that when they say that, they're being serious and they're being very credible and very genuine in that potential. So I would say that's probably a 7 or an 8 out of 10 in possibility of happening. If that does occur, then you've got the very well needed fuel for the fire that many companies will be looking for, is to understand how advertising will potentially work. And I'll show you some examples of how this may play out, what it might look like within the metaverse. The second thing he hits on is community, and I talked about this earlier, but the whole point is that as they develop community and also the aspect around understanding these SDKs, these software development kits are really designed to help other ad tech elements. Now, I can imagine if they get down into really into the weeds, where they can provide ad tech and an SDK into average developers or even companies to develop their own SDK directly into the metaverse. Imagine if you're L'Oreal or you're a restaurant chain or you're maybe a direct-to-consumer product, and you have the ability to go ahead, sign up or get on the SDK and develop a direct interface. In essence, you don't need Google Ads like what you're utilizing now, which essentially is their own third party. So if this becomes an all you can eat kind of thing, then there is a big opportunity here for Adshares, I think, to really explode. So right now, I think it's a very undervalued product, even though it is considerably up over their low. And they did start back in 2017. They had a couple of little blips. And then here in right pre-Metaverse is when we really started to see them fly. Another thing I want to jump to is Adshares partnering up with SubMe to provide an ad tech ecosystem for startups. This gets back to my point of what this could look like in terms of the idea of improving startup and seed investments, both from a financing and a marketing stage. The point is they're looking at a lot of different strategic approaches toward developing not only companies, but also those connectivity points back to the metaverse. They talk about the Launchpad recently introduced. SubMe enables startups to raise funds, help with blockchain tech. At this point, the use of cryptocurrency, blockchain, etc. Newtex is really kind of leaning in on this, and having built an innovative platform with tokenomics, SubMe steps forward and enters the financing market. So I can see this being a very interesting way to essentially recruit not only new startups, but also new customers. And new customers being, if you can train and develop and create that creator aspect around it. I often think about this kind of like Squarespace. I don't know if you guys know a lot about Squarespace's history, but they were a very small web startup that basically gave tools to web designers for DIY, okay? And they recreated what was essentially kind of taking over the do-it-yourself product of WordPress, which still had its own problems, but Squarespace really kind of advanced up, and the way they did it was they started layering in all these additional services and products within the Squarespace product of building your own website. So imagine if you had a build your own ad server or a build your own tool set for advertising within the metaverse, and you had an interface much like that. So you can kind of see how this may really play out for them. I want to jump to this other video because they talk about their plans going forward. We'll cut to this video right here. Tuned in.
The company plans to move on to creating a DAO assumptions and writing the white paper. And yet another secret milestone is planned, which is designed to finish 2022 with a huge bang. And I'm really hoping you will be here with us to witness all this. And I hope to see you next week.
All right, so the DAO aspect of this is, I think, just another use case in the essence of really looking at decentralized, especially around the ad sides of thing, when you look at ad tech and really kind of where that has been really centralized and rolled up into the biggest companies in the world. I think we are in for a very interesting shift in the tide. Now, can they make it? Can they pull this off? Are they the David versus Goliath? A lot of this will have to do with the success of the metaverse. If the metaverse is capable, and with all the different companies and projects and tools that are being developed for the metaverse, if it's capable of truly excelling, the one key element that will be happening is going to be an advertising model that works. I want to jump to their picture right here. This kind of just shows you one example of kind of what their vision is of what this might look like in a metaverse, where you've got visual ads. Essentially, it's an ad within an ad inside the metaverse in itself. And I think pretty benign right now, but I'm just wondering to what level do they see this really going into the whole aspect of 3D and immersive ad experiences. They are talking about it right here. Adshares, the platform allows users to rent space inside the metaverse, blockchain games, NFT exhibitions, and websites. I think all of this will start to play into this. And their whole focus right here is on the crypto voxel introduction, which is basically an NFT and blockchain that they're looking at going into around what would feel or create what would feel like a full metaverse, from kind of the building custom spaces, VR support, all those kind of things. I think the tool sets that they'll start to create, much like what finance tools, banking tools, and even what I referenced earlier on Squarespace, more tools that are just going to be added into this tech, and I think really kind of going in the right direction. The last topic right here was Decentraland programmatic ads. This is more of a new world of how ad tech solution. Programmatic has been around for a long time, And programmatic is based on the interface of who is watching, what the demographic might be. So much of what we're going to see, and this is where I think data is going to play into this, because the data connectivity between you as a metaverse participant and what your data set shows, and that could be everything from your NFT library, the games you play, the token connectivity that you have within Sandbox or Decentraland or something of that nature. All of that is going to be a certain amount of data that's going to be available. This goes back to things like Arweave and many of the other projects that layer in on the data side of the rails. If you take all of that, because ad tech really drives on data right now, and especially if you look at programmatic. Programmatic is and has been pretty much the killer app, even though for the most part, I think, when you see a Facebook ad or you see a LinkedIn ad, that's programmatic mostly at its best. It doesn't have the real killer component of it, and I think you guys have all seen this. You get an ad on something because you've been searching it, but you've already purchased it on Amazon, and your ads are still being served. So that's a useful or a very wasteful case of ad tech being utilized. But the ad tech doesn't know that. In the metaverse, because of the real-time connectivity, then that completely changes the whole format of how ads will be served and also how programmatic will be delivered. So a lot happening in this space, and I think Adshares is going to be one of the places that will hit on it. Mainly they're talking about place banners, how to use the blockchain ad, provide payment addresses. Obviously, this goes back to the live points I'm talking about with your wallets. Receive payments on an hourly basis. Imagine if you had real-time payment from not only the ads that you're getting on maybe your land or on your building or whatever you have created within the metaverse, and you're able to get that almost in real time. I mean, think about that from a creator standpoint, much like what YouTube or Twitch or many others are using with the creator side of things. Imagine that from aspect of companies. And then the next layer in, of course, is going to be e-commerce. So lots happening in the space right here. Make sure and check out Adshares. I think you'll be surprised. Make sure and dive deep. Again, not financial advice, but it's a project I think you should check out and see if you like it. They did not pay us for this. We look at these from time to time. We'll do deep dives on these, really take a look at projects we like and we think are moving. That's really kind of the layout we do. All right, so if you guys are listening in over on the podcast right now, make sure and of course give us some stars over there. But the best place to really enjoy most of this content is right here on YouTube. Just jump over here. You can find us, just search Paul Barron Network. If you want to reach me, it's out on Twitter, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.